You're listening to the Bloodshed Baddies.
Hi, I'm Lex,
And I'm Sam.
and we are the Bloodshed Baddies.
Hello, baddies.
What up, what up, what up?
Hope you all had a great week and weekend.
Yes. Sam, I wanted to talk to you about horoscopes today and
Ooh,
zodiac signs. I really like astrology, and I'm trying to get more into it.
I love this for you.
I want to go through like typical traits of both of our signs and see what we relate to and what we don't.
I love it. I also enjoy a good horoscope. I do think there's some like crazy connections there with it. So I'm excited to go for it. Go, go, go. Woohoo.
Okay, we're going to start with you.
I'm an Aquarius, baby.
You're an air sign.
Isn't that
Yeah, I
water?
didn't know that. I thought it was water too, but this is it. You're an air sign.
Oh, the more you know.
So I'm gonna start with your strengths. And Aquarius strengths are progressive, original, independent, and humanitarian.
Independent faux show. I like humanitarian. Tell me, am I a humanitarian, would you say?
I think so. You definitely like work with
People.
in like the human service industry.
What was the other one that you said? Oh, original. I like that one. Ooh.
Okay, your weaknesses
There's probably a list.
runs from emotional expression.
Oh, wow. That's dead on.
Check. Temperamental.
Check.
Check. Uncompromising.
I disagree with that one, but I think
You're
no.
stubborn as heck.
Oh, I am a complete stubborn, but being a middle child, you got to learn to compromise. So I think that half a check for that.
Half a check. And aloof.
What does aloof mean? Doesn't that mean like ditzy?
No, it means like not caring about stuff.
I don't know. Sure. Yeah. Dead on all of them.
Okay, and then it says you like fun with friends,
Yes.
risky business,
Oh, yeah.
especially in high school,
Oh, get out of here.
fighting for causes,
I like to
and
stand up for what's right.
intellectual conversations.
Oh, love it. Yeah. This is good.
And then it says your dislikes are limitations,
Yes.
broken promises,
Oh, yeah.
being lonely,
I mean, you know me, I got to keep busy every day of my life.
and dull or boring situations.
That is actually so accurate. I'll just look to Brandon and be like, I'm so bored. And he's like, oh my gosh.
So I'm a sign,
A little
which means I'm
cancer.
emotional. Yes, I'm a Cancer. So my strengths are tenacious. I think I'm a
Ooh,
very tenacious person.
I agree.
Highly imaginative.
That's no, you are. The things you say when we always like laugh when you make jokes about situations, they're very imaginative. I think that's accurate.
Loyal. I do think I'm a loyal person.
100%.
Emotional.
Check,
Check. Sympathetic.
check,
Persuasive. I think I can
check.
be persuasive when I want to be.
Oh my God, yeah.
For weaknesses, I have moody. Check.
What?
Check,
Never.
check. Check, 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 check. Pessimistic. Check. Suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
Be suspicious.
Don't be
No.
suspicious.
I don't think I'm suspicious.
I do think that you kind of have like a don't trust everybody type attitude about certain
Oh,
situations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that, yep. I don't trust nobody or nothing. Manipulative
Yes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. 100% I'm joking.
and insecure. Check.
You're better about that though. Way better.
My likes, art.
I mean,
No. No, I don't like art. I'm so bad at art. I
you
want to be good at
uncultured.
art so bad, but I'm terrible. I have not an artistic bone in my body. You're gonna laugh at this one. Home-based hobbies.
You're never home to have
I'm never
hobbies.
home. Never home to have a hobby. Unless it's reading. I do like reading. That is my
Oh,
home-based hobby.
there you go.
Relaxing near the water.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the water. Helping loved ones.
Yes.
Yes. and a good meal with friends. There's literally nothing more in my life than I love than a good meal with my friends or family.
I know that is a good one. Like a good, nice meal. I like that. Heck yeah.
I dislike strangers,
Yeah.
which is true,
Most people.
and revealing my personal life.
Oh, you wouldn't say.
Yeah. Anyway, I know that was a longer intro, but I really wanted to talk about that stuff. So why don't we jump into your case today, Samantha? I didn't even check the spreadsheet. I don't even know what it is.
Yes, this is another listener suggestion today,
Oh, oh, oh.
which I feel like always makes the stories a little more bearable. So, before I get started, shout out to my college roommate and friend, Ricky.
Hey,
Woo!
Ricky.
We love you. Thank you for the suggestion. It's a great case. So, we are going back to Michigan today, baby, and we are talking about the very sad murder of Andrea Eilber.
Ooh, okay. I don't think I've ever heard of this.
I have not either until Ricky suggested it, and I can't believe we don't know about this, to be honest. So, Andrea was born April 17th, 1991, in Flint, Michigan. She is
Oh
the
my
daughter.
gosh.
Mm-hmm.
She's my age.
Yes, she is. She is the daughter of Dawn Lee Werman and Steve Eilber. Sadly, her mother passed away at the age of 49 a few years before Andrea's murder.
What did she pass away from?
I tried looking it up and could not find out.
That's so young.
So young. Andrea also had a brother named Aaron. Andrea went to Lakeview High School and was described as always being happy with an upbeat spirit and having a glowing smile that could light up the neighborhood. Her favorite color was also green, and she had a lime green bedroom, which just takes me back to the times.
It
At
also
her,
reminds me of like The Sims when me, you, and Gina would play The Sims. And Gina would make like a pink bedroom all the time, and you would make a, I don't remember what color you were, but I always made a green bedroom.
see, yes. At her memorial service, they put green balloons up in the air since it was her favorite color. Basically, she was really awesome. She was always upbeat. She had this great sense of humor, and she was a really lovely, lovely person. Only good things I could find about her. In 2011, Andrea is 20 years old, and she is working at Kroger, which is a grocery store. She isn't sure which route she wants to take in life yet, so she's just saving a lot of money basically until she figures it out. So, really smart for someone who's 20
Yeah.
years old.
Sometimes I wish I would have done that instead of going straight to college.
Yeah, if you don't know what you want to be, saving the money, very good. There at Kroger, she meets a boy, Kenneth Carl Grondin III, who goes by KC, like the letter K and the letter C. They started dating in May of that year, 2011. He is like a year younger and they are inseparable. Everyone said that they were super, super cute with each other. He really liked her, and it was really like this young, true first love type situation. Casey graduated from Lapeer East High School in 2010. He was part of the band and he was majoring in business at U of M Flint during this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so also, doing good. He was really close to his family and had a very bright future ahead of him. In November 2011, about 6 months into them dating, Andrea is house sitting for her Aunt Stephanie and Uncle Stuart. Their house is in Mayfield Township, which is a civil township of Lapeer, Michigan. Shout out Aunt Molly.
Hey, Aunt Molly.
If you listen, hi, we love you. Casey and their mutual friend Corey stay with Andrea at the aunt and uncle's house on the night of November 11th and 12th. Remember, they're like 20 years old, they're house sitting, it's like a fun thing. You have your friends over.
It's Corey a boy.
Cody. I said Corey,
Oh,
I think Cody. On the 13th, Andrea and Casey do their own thing, but they are planning to spend the 14th at the aunt and uncle's house, just the two of them, which again is really exciting for both of them because they're going to be able to be alone and kind of act like it's their house and all like the young love kind of situation.
that's like the best feeling when you're that age.
Yes. So that's going to happen November 14th, spending the night apart first, and then they're going to come together. The plan was that Andrea and Casey would drive over together to her aunt and uncle's house. But at 6:30 p.m. that night, Casey receives a text from Andrea telling him to just meet her there instead at the aunt and uncle's house.
Suspicious.
Andrea also texted him to bring over movies. Casey arrives at 7:45 p.m. to the aunt and uncle's house. According to him, it was dark and no one answered the door. He texted her, "Where are you?" I guess he waited around the house until about 8:15 p.m. and Andrea texts him again, canceling the plans altogether. She said something along the lines of, "Hey babe, I got to cancel."
That's very weird.
Yes, and also to Casey, this upsets him a lot. She never canceled plans like this at all. It was very out of character for her. So imagine like that happening, I would be very upset. So I'm not 100% sure of the order of this situation here, but Casey goes home and his friends are there and he goes into his room and he's very upset. They will later say, and he will later say, that he was actually crying because, again, this never happened before their young love. He's upset that she canceled the plans like that.
Like first fight.
Yes. He texted another girl at Kroger, which was a friend, and he complained that Andrea canceled these plans. He ends up going to Kroger, possibly to look for Andrea. Maybe he thought she was working, and he runs into, I'm going to call her Kroger friend. She says, "Why don't you just come to my place to watch movies or whatever?" And they leave the store at 9:30 p.m. to go to Kroger friend's house. She will later testify that he arrived at the house around 10 p.m. And according to cell phone pings, which will be important later, he arrived there at 10:16 p.m. So accurate.
Yeah.
Surveillance footage will show him in a red sweatshirt that night. And Kroger friends said that Casey stayed, watched a movie, then left to go home around midnight. The next day, no one had heard from Andrea basically since her last text to Casey. Her father, Steve, calls the police and tells them no one has heard from Andrea. One of her other aunts, not the one whose house it was, goes to the house to check it out. Andrea's car is not there. The aunt realizes she can't get in, so she goes and gets Casey, and they go back to the house together. The house is all locked up, and they're looking through the windows, and they don't see anything. Casey tells her he doesn't have the spare key anymore. The key is usually left outside, but he says he left it in the house the last night he was there. So they are unsuccessful in getting into this house.
Okay.
Andrea's friends decide to have a search party to start looking for her, and they invite Casey to help. This is a little odd, but Casey says something along the lines of that he has to work early and can't help out with the search, so he doesn't help.
No, you didn't want to hate Casey.
But according to him later, he said he was already searching all day for her and truly, truly did not believe she was hurt or in danger. And he did have work early in the morning. Still, looking at it with hindsight, he could have called off, he could have searched more.
Still suspicious.
Yes. Another thing, though, to note is that over the course of November 14th and 15th, from when she canceled the plans to the next day, Casey did call Andrea around 75 times, all of which went straight to
Holy moly.
voicemail. Yeah, so he was worried. That tells me there that he's very worried.
So he's been living in it all day.
Yes. However, another odd thing that doesn't really help Casey much is Jeffrey, another coworker of them both at the Kroger, is helping with the search. He calls Casey and asks where the aunt's house is. And Casey gives him an address to a house that is 3 miles away from the aunt and uncle's house. Now, it could be possible that he didn't know it, right? It was her aunt's house. They were just house sitting there, but it's still a little odd.
Yeah.
Even with the wrong address, Jeffrey finds Andrea's car anyway, which is about 2 miles from the aunt and uncle's house. It's parked on Lake Pleasant Road in like a state games area, which was like a parking lot for hunting, which is my understanding.
That's weird.
I don't really understand it. There is a tire mark on her rear bumper, and one of her front doors appears to be propped open. Because of the car, and also with permission from the aunt and uncle, police are finally able to enter the home because now they have cause.
Okay.
Very sadly and unfortunately, in the early hours of November 16th, the police find Andrea's body dead in the basement laundry area of the home. She is actually in a chair and appears to be slumped over. Upon further investigation, it's discovered that she was shot in the head from a distance of about 2.5 feet
While sitting in a chair.
while sitting in a chair. So they believe that the shooter had hunting experience. The medical examiner will also testify that her hands and feet were bound to the chair, probably with zip ties. Apparently, the zip ties were left on her for about 6 to 7 hours after death and then taken off. They were not on her when they found her.
Wait, so somebody waited 6 to 7 hours after her death to come take the zip ties off.
That's what the medical examiner found. Yeah.
Okay.
So, just an awful scene to find and to come up on. It's also assessed that she was shot sometime during the afternoon hours of November 14th, 2011. But also odd because remember those evening texts to Casey's phone.
So those weird, suspicious texts she probably wasn't alive for. Oh no.
Things are missing from the home. I believe $100, a sweatshirt, some hunting guns, and I think a few other things, but there's no sign of forced entry. The police also can find no fingerprints at the crime scene.
I'm trying to piece this together because it sounds like this is almost like kind of professional here. Like the hunting experience, the zip ties, the texts afterwards, the no fingerprints, but like our main suspects are like some 20-year-old kids.
This is insane. Now, the police turned to Casey first. He was her boyfriend. He was the last one to see Andrea. He was the last one to communicate with her.
Oh
Makes
yeah,
sense.
he should definitely be the number one suspect.
Casey does agree to submit to an interview with the police. Throughout several hours of the interview, he said he knew nothing about Andrea's death. However, eventually the police get a written statement from Casey, which is a pretty odd story. In his written statement, Casey said he found Andrea's body around 8 p.m. on November 14th, 2011. But he moved the body and removed items from the home, which he never specified which items. But he said he did that so her family wouldn't believe she committed suicide. So basically, he is saying here that she committed suicide and he wanted to cover it up.
Doesn't make sense with the zip tie.
No, or the 2.5 feet.
Oh yeah, that too.
He also wrote that he wore gloves and later burned them, which was interesting because they did find a burn pile by the vehicle. And police said that Casey wasn't told about this burn pile. However, it's important to note again that it was like this hunting parking lot. So it's very probable it could have been there already and wasn't part of the crime scene.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but right now it's feeling kind of like making a murdery, like where that guy was in there, that young kid was in there for hours and hours, hours, and then eventually like confessed, even though it wasn't really a strong confession. Not that
Yeah,
this is confessing to killing her, but like confessing to this wild story.
yes. But Casey eventually recants the story and says he knew nothing. But the police arrest Casey and eventually charge him with first degree felony murder because of the stolen items.
Wait. Okay. 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 Go on. That doesn't make sense to me.
Although there was the written confession and some conflicting stories from Casey, some things just didn't add up. Like you're saying, it's not
But
making
hold
sense.
on. The confession wasn't that he killed somebody. The confession was that she committed suicide and he covered it
100%.
up. So, like, no, you don't have a written confession, you dumbasses.
While Casey was being interrogated, his grandfather contacted an attorney, which makes sense because of the
Yeah, go
situation.
grandpa.
Yeah. And the attorney is completely unsuccessful in talking to the police and his client. The
Wait,
attorney
what?
called the police and they gave him the go around, and the interrogation continued without the lawyer, which is a
No!
big no no.
This is illegal. What is this? What the fuck is this police force doing over here? Okay, this is very making a murderer. Murderer. I can't say that word.
Another weird thing During the interrogation video, the audio goes silent at one point, so we can never see Casey actually admit to the crime or moving the body. We just have that signature on the original statement.
I'm sorry. What? That just happened to happen? Oh, it's coincidence?
His mother will later say the police officer told Casey, if you write something down, you can go home. So that is why Casey wrote the written confession. Also, in the interrogation video, it shows an officer saying, maybe she committed suicide. Maybe you did stuff afterwards. So legit planting this in his head.
Which is also like, that's not a valid confession then.
More odd stuff. When police searched Casey's house, they found the clothes from the surveillance video, the red Alabama sweatshirt and gray sweatpants in his laundry bin.
Okay.
After it was collected, it was sent to the police station, and 2 days later, an officer opened the bag and discovered a bloody hair inside and blood on the shoulder of the sweatshirt. The bloody hair matched Andrea's DNA, but there was no blood transferred to Casey's clothing.
Wait. Okay. So they bag up the evidence, open it back up. There's a bloody hair that belongs to her, but it's not on his clothing.
Correct.
I'm sorry. What?
Later, in a documentary I watched, they do a test to see if that could be possible to not transfer blood on the sweatpants with wet blood, and it was impossible. So the blood had to already be dried. Also, the blood that was on his shoulder turned out to be Casey's. There were also allegations about the evidence collection the police did in his home and Andrea's. Allegedly, bags were left open by the police. Police were just trampling around the scene. They left bloody footprints. It was apparently a really big mess.
Cool.
The police did collect DNA, fingerprints, and a cigarette bud from the scene. Andrea also had DNA under her fingernails that weren't her own. Surprisingly, there was no match for anyone they collected DNA from, including Casey.
Okay. They're railroading this kid.
The police did find Casey's DNA in Andrea's passenger seat, but they were dating. That could easily be explained away.
Obviously, you think he never rode in her car, not once, not ever? It's not the one under her fingernails? But you're going to be like,
Correct.
well, it's in her car, so it must be him. And this obviously planted piece of hair must mean he's connected.
It's wild. Don't forget the cell phone pings. Casey arrived to Kroger friend's house at 10:16 p.m. And they testified that Casey was there until midnight. At 10:23 p.m., Andrea's debit card was used at a Hans Bank ATM in Davison, Michigan, taking out $300. It was later testified that someone could not drive from Kroger friend's home to Hans Bank in 7 minutes. There was also a surveillance video of the person using the debit card, but it was grainy, it was dark, it was 2011. So the person could not be identified. You couldn't tell who this person was. However, the man on the footage appears to have a different body shape than Casey. His parents were also like, this is not Casey. He doesn't move or act like Casey. And I can see that. Like, I can recognize, I feel like your body, like my loved one's body, even if it doesn't, you know what I mean? If it's dark or whatever,
Yeah.
That's my person.
Also, like, you've given me no conclusive evidence that this guy's doing it. So, like, you can't be like, well, you can't tell in the ATM footage, so it could be him. Yeah, it could also be any other man on the face of this fucking earth.
Yes. Also, in that same documentary, they hire an expert to look at the video. And the expert has no information about what he's looking for. And he's like, okay, this guy in the video is for sure 6'1". Without a doubt in my mind, he's 6'1". He did the measurements and whatnot. Like, he went to the store, he measured the door, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Casey is 5'10".
Ooh, that's a big difference. That's a big difference.
Yes.
Ask any guy. It's a big difference.
Yes. But the prosecution will argue that it is Casey still. Andrea's card was also used one more time for another transaction of $300, and Casey's cell phone pinged at a different location at that time.
Looks like it's not Casey using that debit card at least.
Yes, or I believe like prosecution said maybe he left his phone somewhere else to be
This kid
smart
is
about
20
it.
fucking years old. He's not a fucking genius over here.
I 100% agree. Regardless of all this stuff that does not seem to add up whatsoever, Casey is taken to trial.
That's wild that a judge took this to trial.
The
Like, you don't
prosecution,
even have good circumstantial evidence at this point.
no. The prosecution relies heavily on the fact that he signed that statement, the bloody hair found on the clothing, and they basically are just saying that's him in the security footage. The prosecution is just like, right guy, wrong evidence. And according to the Michigan State Police, there was no error in collecting evidence from under their policy. The defense puts up a good argument, and they talk about the fact that the police failed to let him know about the attorney, the bad collection of evidence, the phone pings, the alibi, and the lack of DNA evidence. The defense also brings up different possible suspects, which I'll run through pretty quickly because none of them will end up panning out. First, the defense says it could be Jeffrey, the coworker, who found her car. He found the car. He ended up quitting Kroger a few weeks after the murder and had a similar car to the car they saw in the surveillance video.
Okay, nothing solid there, but it's a good for reasonable doubt.
Yes, and that's exactly what I believe the defense is trying to do with these suspects.
Yeah.
They also argue it could be Michael, a boy who she unfriended on Facebook shortly before her murder due to his annoying posts. After Andrea's murder, this Michael boy posted a photo with a sweatshirt similar to the one that was taken from the aunt and uncle's house, and apparently he was holding a gun that was similar or the same caliber of gun that was used
Oh,
in the murder.
okay.
Mike,
Definitely some reasonable doubt there.
Michael also had no phone records until November 19th, days after the murder. Apparently, he didn't
Okay,
have a phone
that's
until
weird.
then. Yeah, really weird.
Okay.
Apparently, at the funeral, there was another man, Raymond, who moved out of the state shortly after the murder. He came back for the funeral and was very interested to look at Andrea's wrists at the funeral. So interested that like multiple people said it was very weird.
That's very strange, and I don't like that at all.
No. Another possible suspect was David. David's father called the police and said he thought it was his son in their surveillance video. And his aunt also said she thought it could be David as well.
Oh, wow.
David apparently committed a carjacking at the Speedway around the same time.
Oh, okay. Why did nobody look into this Cody guy that was supposed to be hanging out with them? Did he just have an alibi?
That I do not know. I'm assuming so
So,
because
like,
he's not
shouldn't
even
he
on
have
this
been
list.
at that house like the days before or whatever?
Yes. I don't 100% know that. That's a good question.
Because I thought this was going to end up with Cody was the one who did it.
Well, keep on listening, girl.
Got it.
Andrew's half brother was also brought up as a suspect, mainly because he suffered from depression and he was addicted to drugs. Someone testified that apparently Casey and her brother owed money to a known drug dealer, which Casey's parents will say he did smoke pot, but that was it. And someone allegedly told the drug dealer that Andrea was saving money and had a decent amount. Apparently, police said they tried to track this drug dealer down, but they couldn't. Shortly after the murder, her brother also tragically is suspected of doing an intentional drug overdose and taking his own life.
Are you this poor family?
Yes. So again, the defense is just trying to poke holes, cause reasonable doubt in everything. Even with all of these holes, after a 12-day trial and 2 days of deliberation, a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder.
Wait, they found him guilty.
Yes,
But they convicted this man and found him guilty.
of first degree.
11, that's how many jurors there are, right?
12, I think.
No, 12, because 12 angry men. 12 fucking people all agreed that this man was guilty beyond reasonable doubt.
After 2 days of deliberation, yes.
I need to know who these people are.
In 2015, Casey was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of Andrea.
This is wild.
One of Andrea's best friends is like, there is no way Casey is responsible for this murder, even with the conviction.
This is wild because, like, we just talked about the Menendez brothers last week, And like they admitted to it and were like, yeah, we totally did that. And people are trying to get them off with possibility of parole. And this guy, there's nothing substantial. And they're like, nah, he should never be out of jail again.
How messed up is that? Now, of course, Casey and his defense team appeal it. I believe the first appeal case argues that the confession and all the interrogation shouldn't be admissible in court.
Yes, because that's illegal to not tell somebody about their lawyer.
A court did grant this appeal, but then a higher court decided the rights weren't violated based on the Michigan Constitution, and he was an adult and could have said, I'm not talking anymore, basically. So they denied the appeal.
Oh my God.
In 2018, 3 years later, they appeal again. And this time, thankfully, Casey's appeal was granted. It was granted this time based on faulty language on the jury verdict instruction form. Specifically,
Ooh.
because on the court form they gave the jury for their decision, they did not add not guilty as one of the options.
Wait, what?
Yes.
They said you have one option?
I don't know how many options were on there, but not guilty was not on the form. Which, granted, you could be like, oh, if I don't think he's guilty, like, let's ask that question, I think, as a jury. But also, as a court, how do you not offer that on your form?
That's horrible.
I literally don't understand that. I was like, this is absolutely insane to me.
Isn't that like that's what they're there to decide? Oh my God.
Casey was released from prison and was ordered on house arrest until a new trial would be set, which would have probably been in 2020, but then, COVID happened and whatnot, so it got extended. Now, this is crazy. Do you remember the cigarette bud that they found?
Okay, yeah.
It was never examined for DNA or anything, despite demands from the defense team.
Wait, they just said, nah, we're not going to check this thing.
Yes. And in 2022, with a renewed effort to finally solve this case, it was finally examined. And they found a match. Guess who isn't a match?
I don't know, Casey.
Casey is not a match. It was actually a match for a 42-year-old man named Chadwick Mobley.
Okay, does she know this man?
I don't 100% know that, but we're going to talk about Chadwick Mobley really quick. Chadwick was a truck driver and was living out of his truck in Utah at this time, 2022. The Michigan State Police questioned him about it and the events. Now, there are no details on about how he ended up at the house Andrea was house sitting in the first place, but it is interesting to note that he is about 10 years older than Andrea and Casey. But after the police question him, Lex, this man, Chadwick, goes on the lam and legit runs.
What?
Tell me you're guilty without telling me you're guilty.
He said, you know what? Now that you mention it, I gotta go.
Literally. Anyway, he was later found and arrested June 28th, 2023 by the Lincoln County Sheriff Department in Libby, Montana. I'm not really sure how they found him, honestly. But according to court records, during a search of Mobley's vehicle, detectives found the pistol used in the 2011 murder.
He still had it?
I don't know why.
I guess if it works, right?
Now get this, Lex. The Michigan Attorney General sent a private company, Prisoner Transport Services, to get Chadwick and bring him to Michigan for his arraignment.
Oh, no, I don't like where this is going.
Prison Transport Services is actually a company based in Nashville, Tennessee, and is the only private transfer service available in Montana. They are licensed, insured, and meet the strict federal standards outlined in the Interstate Transportation of Dangerous Criminals Act of 2000. July 9th, this man's, Chadwick, somehow escapes the prison transport at the Plains Town Pump in Montana.
This sounds literally like a fucking movie.
He somehow is able to remove the handcuffs and his ankle shackles, and he makes a flippin' run for it.
How?
Don't know. Chadwick Mobley.
Chadwick, man.
Thankfully, he was recaptured July 10th and the citizens and whatnot were
Wait,
thanked.
so how long was he on the run for?
He was on the run for a day, but come on, you're in a prison outfit. Like that's pretty impressive.
No, it's so impressive.
Yeah, he's a terrible person, but the fact that you got these ankle shackles off and tried to flip and run, you crazy, crazy man. Not the first time he tried to run either.
No, this guy's, I mean, he's like expert level
Yes.
runner.
And he let Casey sit in prison for how many years? He's terrible. Anyways, thankfully he's recaptured July 10th, and the citizens and whatnot were thanked. So I'm assuming it was like a sighting that someone saw him. The Michigan Attorney General said of the escape, quote, the failure of prisoner transport services to safely and securely transport Mobley to Michigan placed the people of northwestern Montana in considerable and grave danger. This is not the work we expect on behalf of the Michigan Department of Attorney General, and we have already begun a thorough review of the failures in this process. Quote.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well said.
Chadwick was finally brought to Michigan and was arraigned in 71A District Court in Lapeer on first-degree murder, felony, and felony firearm charges.
Let's go.
Trial for Chadwick was supposed to begin December 3rd of last year in Lapeer County Circuit Court before Judge Mike Knowles. However, the trial has been adjourned until March 4th, 2025, in order to allow the Attorney General more time to make arrangements and get witnesses from Utah and Montana to Lapeer. So this is coming up so soon, and we will have to keep you updated, baddies.
Oh my God, we have so many updates we're going to have to do for cases that we've done so far.
This obviously has put a halt to Casey's trial, and Brian Leggio, Casey's defense attorney, stays adamant that Casey is innocent, and he says that Casey had never had any contact or relationship with Chadwick Mobley. So I'm super interested to see how this plays out, and I hope that justice for Andrea can finally get it right this time, and her family can finally have some peace with it all. And that is the wild case I can't believe I've never heard of Andrea Eilber.
I want to know like how Chadwick came into her life. Was like he truck driving and saw her on the street near the house? Did he go into her Kroger and like take a liking to her and follow her? Like how'd he end up there?
I know. I want to know the details, and there's not much out right now. So we'll see when it
Or
goes
like
to court.
did he think no one was home and robbed the place because he like got tipped off that they were going on vacation and then stumbled upon her being there and like
I
that
think
was
that's a
just an
huge
unfortunate.
possibility, which
There's
is
just
so
like so
sad.
many different reasons he could have come into their life to they literally had no idea who this guy was.
Yeah. Isn't that insane?
And he's just been straight chilling for 10 years.
There's a wrongful conviction. Someone goes on the lam. Someone escapes prisoner transport. It's like a movie.
Horrible police work.
Horrible, horrible police work. In flippin' sane. Thank you, Ricky, for suggesting this case. If you guys have any suggestions, please send them our way because this is stuff we haven't heard. It's crazy.
I do feel like the suggestions make it a little bit more fun to research the cases because I don't know it. So I feel like when I do one I know, sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, I know this. And I get kind of
Yes.
bored doing the research. Whereas when it's one I don't know, I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. I don't know anything about this.
No, man, I was glued to my computer. Like, this is wild. Oh my gosh.
So if you have a case suggestion for us, please, please, please send us an email at bloodshedbaddies@gmail.com or head over to our Instagram page at bloodshedbaddies and you can send us a little DM, do a little comment, make sure you interact with some of the posts. And also, please, please, please follow us on the podcast platform that you're listening on right now.
Give us a nice review as well. We always love it. We need you guys to share us more, tell your friends more. So that's a good way to do that as well. Don't forget the intro music is made by Cousin Vinny. Tell friends, lots of friends, and tune in next week for our next episode.
Bye, baddies.
We love you.
Goodbye, baddies. Have
We love you.
a great weekend.